Origin Stories with JJK.
Jarrett
Krosoczka.
Hey, I'm Jarrett Krosoczka, and welcome to a solo episode of Origin Stories, the series in between the interviews where I answer questions sent in from listeners. Now, a question that I get asked quite frequently from young people especially, they want to know how I was able to get past the circumstances of my childhood and grow up to be an adult who is somewhat well-adjusted and successful in his chosen field. So if you don't know, I wrote and illustrated a graphic memoir called Hey Kiddo. And Hey Kiddo is all about my growing up and dealing with my mother and how her addiction to heroin affected my life, how her absence affected my life. My mother was in and out of jail. She was in and out of treatment centers. My birth father wasn't around. I didn't meet him until I was 17, just before I graduated high school. I was raised by two incredibly loving grandparents, but if you've read Hey Kiddo, you know that they battled with their demons as well. And how did I get beyond my circumstances? Well, one, I was able to latch on to something I was passionate about. I believe firmly that everybody has their own intelligence, their own specialized intelligence. So often we are measured by test numbers when we're growing up. For me, I had an artistic intelligence, and I threw myself into that. One might have an athletic intelligence. One might have incredible interpersonal skills. There are so many unique ways in which to have your own intelligence. So if you can identify that and celebrate that and throw yourself into that. I had great adults in my life. There were some central figures who certainly failed me, but I had amazing teachers. I had amazing relatives who listened to me and would talk to me and guide me through. I had incredible friends. My best friends, Pat and Mike, growing up, they're still my closest friends. So between having a passion and having a good support network, that was able to sort of, for lack of a better expression, bide my time and get me through and buoy. What I think really helped me go beyond my circumstances was jumping into volunteerism. So when I volunteered at Camp Sunshine initially when I was 16, and beyond that, I volunteered subsequent years, and then I later worked at the Hole in the Wall Gang Camp, and both of these camps serve children with cancer and other life-threatening illnesses. And there's this weird and wild thing about volunteerism and giving to yourself. The arithmetic doesn't ever really add up, because it seems the more that you put into your work of the experience, you get so much more out of it. So my time working with those young people dealing with the unimaginable, that gave my life an intense and beautiful purpose. And I actually wrote about that experience in a subsequent graphic memoir called Sunshine, how one camp taught me about life, death, and hope. But a question I received recently really stopped me in my tracks and made me look inwardly to try to find the answer. And it was a young person who was dealing with a similar set of experiences of parents struggling with addiction. And this young person asked me, how do I know that I have it within me to move beyond these circumstances into adulthood? And it made me realize something pretty profound, in that I guess I never did it for me. I did it for the kid that was, and I did it for the kids that might be. So I worked hard to move beyond my circumstances to do good by the kid that I was, to make that kid proud. I worked hard to move beyond my circumstances so that I could create a different reality for the kids that I might father someday. And, I'm now the father of 3 wonderful, awesome, incredible kids. Being a kid is difficult to begin with, let alone when you're one who is dealing with family dysfunction or dealing with adults who are struggling with addiction. The most beautiful thing about growing up is that you get to create your own reality. You get to create your own environment. You get to decide who is going to be welcomed into that environment. So if you are a young person who is wondering if you have it within you to move beyond your circumstances, don't do it for yourself. Do it for the kid that was, and do it for the kids that might be. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions about books or writing or life in general, you may submit your questions to studiojjk.com/podcasts. That's podcasts plural. Thank you for listening.